Hey Bucket Pond family, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a double feature, a build video and an update video together. We'll be taking a quick look at our previous Nano Aquarium from last week, our 2-liter Nano tank there on the left side, and I loved it so much I just had to build another one here on the right. You'll see the tanks are a little bit different, and I just enjoyed them a lot. It turns out these 2-liter Nano Aquariums are perfect for what we do. They're lightweight, low cost, they grow plants, they help to breed snails and microfauna, and I'm just very happy. So first of all, we're going to take a quick look at last week's Nano Aquarium. It is growing out of control already. This is only 10 days after setup, and it looks great. The plants are thriving in here. These wild snails that we included in this project, they are thriving as well. They're doing great. Some other creatures such as copepods are thriving in here. And I keep saying that word thriving, but I just can't help it. I'm very excited about this project. It looks great. As always, guys, this is Bucket Ponds, and my name is Terry. We make weekly videos featuring microfauna, plants, aquariums, all kinds of stuff. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. So here it is. This is 10 days after it was built, and it looks pretty great. You'll notice the water is slightly brown, and that's due to certain levels of tannins in the water, which is fine, completely healthy for our pets and plants. In this project, we are growing dayflower, specifically 2 different types of dayflower. But as you may know, if you've worked with dayflower in the past, some of the leaves will wilt as the plant grows taller. So I'm just going to take my 12-inch scissors here and clip off a few of these wilted leaves, just to give you an idea of what maintenance is like for these sorts of aquariums. Now this isn't a big deal. These leaves will go right back into the tank and act as a food source for the various animals inside. In the build video, I mentioned that our worms, our aquatic worms, and our snails will act a bit like earthworms in your backyard. They'll break down these fallen leaves and turn them into food. They'll chew them up, and eventually it will become fertilizer for the plants to grow more leaves. Sort of like a recycling system built into the aquarium. I really like the idea of the nano tank growing food for the pets inside. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. The main reason I wanted to do such a quick update, only 10 days after setup, was to show off the amazing amount of root growth we have in here. These plants have shot roots out everywhere, and this is in a very short time span. I was really surprised by this, and it's really cool. I love fast-growing plants. I like to see results as soon as possible, and the dayflower definitely delivers. We have roots all over this tank. These plants are looking for nutrients, and that's pretty cool. There's a good shot of some of the roots there, as well as some of the microfauna that have made an appearance in this aquarium. These little specks, these little Y-shaped creatures here are called copepods, cyclops, and they're pretty cool. We've accidentally set up a pretty decent cyclops culture, and I'm very happy about that. Down lower, you might see some of the bladder snails here. This is a wild-caught bladder snail, and I set this up mainly as a nursery for them. I'll include a link to the build video for this first aquarium in the description. But as you can see, the wild bladder snails have adapted well. They are succeeding in living in here. They're pretty active, and they're moving a bit faster than they were in their capture container where I brought them home. But they look great. The shells are healthy. The snails are very active. And here's another shot, a little bit higher up in the aquarium. And they are doing what they do. They cruise throughout the water. They scrape all the algae and bacteria they can find. They're cleaning up this nice stem here. And yeah, they're great. I see a number of people on Quora talking about getting rid of bladder snails, how to remove pond snails, things like that. And my answers are almost always the same. Why would you want to get rid of these guys? They are beneficial. They remove algae, they consume diatoms, they break down detritus. Ultimately, small freshwater aquatic snails are beneficial for their ecosystems. It's true they may host a parasite. That's possible with any wild creature. But these guys are not the enemy. They are your friends. And here we have another look at the roots. These plants have just shot roots out. You can see them literally busting out of the stems there. And that's really cool. I enjoy fast-growing plants, and these dayflower plants are doing so well in here. You can see a number of the copepods moving about as well. And as I examine this aquarium, this is only 10 days after it was set up, but you can see some nice bladder snail egg sacs there. They have laid eggs all over the aquarium, and that's a big deal for me because these were wild-caught bladder snails, and they may be a slightly different species than what we're used to. But we have them breeding now, and that's a good sign. We'll have babies, we'll have more and more of these guys in the future, and we'll be able to play with their genetics and learn more about them. Now, I have had some discussions with people on YouTube, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you can see some of the tubiflex worms in here. I'm not sure of their exact species, but they are a segmented worm that forms clusters or colonies, and they act exactly like tubiflex do, in my opinion. So that's what we call them. But these guys are great, and they're just searching for food now. But yes, I've had conversations with people on YouTube talking about bladder snails, my bladder snail breeding program, and I feel that it's important to emphasize that these snails are not parthenogenetic. Is that the right word? They are not born with the ability to simply clone themselves like certain crayfish or other snails may be able to do. These bladder snails rely on mating. They are hermaphrodites, meaning they are both male and female, and they are capable of self-fertilization, but that is not their main method of reproduction. It turns out that fertilizing themselves like that, they actually create inbred offspring. Imagine two identical twins having a baby together, and that baby will have a number of genetic defects. It can even cause inbreeding depression, a scientific term that basically means they'll stop trying to breed as much. They won't be so interested in it. But we'll talk about that again here in a few minutes. Now we're going to set up our new nano tank here on the right side. And in this tank, I will be hosting my very own captive bred bladder snails from our bladder snail breeding program. So to start with, we've added some of our very own locally sourced sand. This sand, I actually dig it up out of my backyard and we rinse it, we clean it up a little bit. It makes for perfect aquarium sand, and we've tested it a number of times. It looks great. And now we're going to add our plants. This is the wild dayflower. I'm only going to include this specific type of dayflower in this project. And you may notice that I cut the new aquarium, I cut the 2-liter a bit shorter than the previous one. And that's just so I can reach in there a little more easily and get the plants where they need to be. Some notes about maintenance on these aquariums. These will never receive a water change. There is no filtration. There's no mechanical pumps, no air pump, nothing like that in these tanks. These are all natural. The moment I set it up, all we're going to do is trim plants, add food, and occasionally add water as some is lost due to evaporation. And you can see I struggle with the plants a little bit. That always happens in nano tanks. These lung tweezers, they do help. But I'm going to include 3 or 4 stems here. And you'll notice that I am planting them before I add lava rock. And this is very important. We learned from our previous tank there that it's somewhat difficult to get the stems down into the sand when there's lava rocks all piled up back there. So this time we added our plants first, and now we're going to add the lava rocks. The lava rock is very important for this style of aquarium as it increases the surface area of the tank. Basically, that means that it's adding more space, more surfaces for the beneficial bacteria to grow. And in a small tank like this, especially a tank that will never receive a water change, beneficial bacteria are crucial. They are very important. This would not work without strong sources of beneficial bacteria. And my bacteria have been cultivated from various ponds and other sources, some 40-year-old aquariums. It's a long story. But these beneficial bacteria cultures that we keep live in all of our aquariums are very important. And here we are using samples from my farm aquarium. This is the heart of the bladder snail breeding program. And this is also the core of my beneficial bacteria source. This is where I've channeled all of my samples, and again, it's a long story, but this water is very important. It's live, it's wild, but it's also, here in my house, and it's part of my fish tanks. But we're going to add our bladder snails here. You can see, you might not be able to see them yet, But there are absolutely hundreds of ostracods in here, dozens of snails, and the farm tank is doing quite well in regards to the snails and ostracods. I don't want to overfill the aquarium. I want to leave a little space up top as the bladder snails are known to climb up out of the water occasionally. And these tanks are run without a lid. Previous videos, I've said that you pretty much have to have a lid, but here we're using open aquariums, and it seems to be working fine. Now we're going to add some moss. This is the very same moss that we used in the previous 2-liter aquarium on the left side there. And it's also the same moss that I used in my most recent ecosphere build video, which is a sealed polydarium, meaning it has a water portion and a land portion. And I'm going to have to do an update on that soon. That polydarium is beautiful inside. Everything is just booming in there. It looks great. I'm just trying to wait a little while before I do a proper update on the sealed polydarium. But I'll include a link to that in the description and a link to the original build video from last week for the 2-liter tank on the left side as well. But guys, I am thrilled with these aquariums. They look great, and I have a plan to set up quite a few more of these in the future. If you're following along at home, this is simply a 2-liter soda bottle that I have modified. We cut the top off, and it's perfect. This is the exact right size for raising bladder snails in significant numbers. And I'm just very happy. The plants do well in here. Everything seems to just be at home in these 2-liter aquariums. And, you know, they're low cost, they're cheap to set up, and they don't weigh as much as our fancy glass jars do. So I'm pretty thrilled with these 2-liter tanks. I was inspired to build these by another YouTuber who actually got me started in the industry and the hobby, I guess, making videos and stuff. It's really great. I hope to speak with that person one day, but they're kind of standoffish, you know, and I understand. I get like that too sometimes. But you can see one of our captive bred snails here, just really happy and exploring their new world. And we've added some cucumber slices here about 2 days after setup. And the duckweed has made it a bit dark in here. But yeah, our pets are very happy. You can see a number of ostracods and copepods just swarming the cucumber slice. My goal with this new tank was to have a successful ostracod culture running alongside my domestic captive bred bladder snails. And again, this is only 2 days after setup, but it's doing quite well. Everybody's eating the cucumber slices, and that just seems to be the best food that I have available. We even have a small water mite there, that little black dot near the center of the video. That is an arachnid water mite, and it seems to be eating the cucumber slice as well. They're just too small for me to film with this current equipment, but I do have a great announcement. My beautiful wife has bought me a brand new camera, which is amazing. And I'm looking at getting a new microphone as well to increase our audio quality. You should see a dramatic increase in the video quality overall in the near future. But here they are. There's our 10-day-old tank on the left, and here's our brand new aquarium on the right. Please drop a comment below and let me know what you think of this double feature type of video. If you guys enjoy it, if the video does well, I might just keep this going and build another Nano aquarium next week alongside a short update video about this week's tank, something like that. So please let me know your opinion. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun watching it? Let's hope so. In the near future, I would like to set up a couple more of these 2-liter Nano aquariums, mainly for our 2 different colors of ram's horn snails. I'd like to establish a breeding population of the red ones and the brown ones separately. And I'd like to set up another one for our recently acquired Malaysian trumpet snails, which we haven't shown on the channel yet. But anyway, guys, my name is Terry. The channel is called Bucket Ponds. I make weekly videos, and we have like 100 videos on the channel featuring all this stuff. Please check it out. Please like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. If you made it this far in the video, I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.